everyone. So welcome you again. So this is Master Teresa, your host. Join me, the Healthy You Conference. Find health and life balance with Qigong and other techniques. So, wow, we're doing well. Actually, everything flows very well. So today we have a Qigong Master Zachary Lui, and he is also an acupuncturist in Toronto. He is also co-hosting a radio in Toronto too. Just welcome him. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. So I'm going to read a little bit thing out for you. So he has been formally trained in various Eastern practices. He is very good at his Qigong, trained in a Shaolin Kung Fu, internal martial arts like the Yeung, Tai Chi Chuan, the Ba Gua Zhong. He is a certified trainer, shaman in the Quantum Life Science Institute. So he have been studying with different teachers for many years in Buddhism, Taoism, and has an international radio show now. And he has a practice in the college, downtown Toronto, like a clinic for acupuncture. Of course, he's a Reiki master too. Most people study, become Reiki master. He's sort of halfway to his priesthood, so to speak. Oh, okay. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Teresa. How are you?
I am happy to meet you. So I met you, must be half a year over?
Something like that. It's over half a year now.
Yeah. But for me, it's kind of interesting to find younger people, right? I see them a lot younger than me because I'm 60, so they're younger. So and I found out, wow, it's interesting. They like Qigong. It's kind of strange to me. Oh, no, there's another one like Qigong, really. So this is still like the rare species about liking energy work. So how did you get involved with acupuncture? Right?
It was actually a long story. So if I were to nutshell it, I started with acupuncture because I wanted to get better at Qigong.
Really?
So it was kind of on the path where a colleague of mine said, hey, why don't you go into looking into Qigong? And I'm off of a Chinese medicine doctor. I'm like, what? They stick needles in you? They make you drink mud? The herb tastes horrible? Why?
I know.
How does this lend itself to martial arts and Qigong whatsoever? And he said, just trust me. So having my martial arts background, I kind of went in with my family. We did the whole thing there. I apprenticed a teacher in Hamilton, Dr. Yeung, and she taught me for about a good 3-4 years, and then I did more formal training when I came to Toronto.
Oh.
And
okay.
prior to that, I was doing Shaolin Kung Fu and Qigong also. So bringing that in, I didn't expect to go into Chinese medicine, but it kind of fit everything I was looking for.
Oh, so I guess you're on top of the world, so to speak. You've learned all the things necessary to hold a practice?
Well, uphold a practice, yes. I mean, there's always new things to learn, but I mean, from a clinical standard, yeah. I mean, I'm running my own clinic. It's been up and running for about 2 years now. So.
I know you also teach Qigong there, and then, but then mainly it's an acupuncture practice. So I'd like you to, if possible, to help the younger generation to understand, I guess, a bit of your journey, right? Because it's like, in a way, you're sort of, if I use the word weird, right? just that he is a bit weird, right? So he do the Kung Fu, which is understandable, and then he do Tai Chi. The Yang style is already strange in the eyes of young people. You're not getting too old and you do that, And then the other thing, he also do the shaman thing, which is quite normal, really. The Reiki is very normal. People see that as normal these days. And then when you put all these things together, you're outstanding, really. You know a lot. So what's the? How did you? When did you start to feel you have some? I guess you have some different ability.
Right.
Hearing messages.
That started off.
Things, right?
That started off very young.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of went poo-poo to it. Whatever.
Yeah,
it was just like, okay, that's just normal. Maybe it's in my head. And I had mostly, like, in my teens, I was studying psychology and all these things too. So I was very much like, okay, that's all in your head. Don't worry about it. And then I hit a limit where I literally was like, okay, I know what psychology says, I know what body language says in my teens. And at this point, I was very much like, okay, I could either keep doing martial arts, which, you know, I still do, and from there, it pretty much hit the limit of what else is there, because it's either all in your head or it's not in your head.
Yeah.
And some of the things I've seen from my Shaolin teacher when I was learning from him definitely were not in my head. So this, like, I'm very scientific on things, so I was like, well, what is the mechanisms behind this?
Yeah.
And then, you know, the old saying, when you're ready, the teacher appears. I met my Chinese medicine teacher that started me off in Chinese medicine, and I met my guru and esoteric teacher, Andrea Vitamis, at the same time. So I was doing those both parallel in my teens once I was about 17 or so, and then kind of went forward from there.
Yeah, at 17, so that's pretty early, and most people are just doing this, right? So at 17, so he's quite advanced in this, I would say, this personal journey, you know. It's really, really different. It's very different than other people. So it must be, I would say, making friends must be a real challenge, or is it not?
Not really.
No?
I mean, I would kind of do my own practices and say that's my stuff, but then, you know, you still socialize and you have fun and you make friends and you do that.
So they do that. They do this thing, and then you talk. You just don't.
Oh, I did too.
You do those too.
Yeah,
Okay, you also do. Okay.
Time and place for everything, right?
Okay. Yeah, but then you're okay. So how do you blend them together, really? I mean, the ordinary world, right? They talk about other things.
Right.
And then, but then you have the interest in another kind of thing.
Right.
And then, so obviously you don't talk about your interest because most people are not interested. So then it's really interesting how to find the balance, right?
Well, it's different peer groups, right? So
okay.
I would say, like, okay, if I was, like, when I was younger, I have friends that play video games. I absolutely love video games. You know, we watched the Japanese cartoons, anime, things like that. So we could relate on that basing, but they also know I did martial arts training and I did that stuff, and that was more private to me. Then as I kind of expanded to that area, you know, going to college, doing the marketing and all that, and still apprenticing Chinese medicine, I didn't expect to go into Chinese medicine whatsoever, but it just ended up being a passion of mine because acupuncture is very much the lazy man's Qigong, right? So if you don't want to do Qigong yourself, you go to an acupuncturist.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It's really nice if you also expand to explain maybe how acupuncture work with the qi. You know, help people to understand the value of acupuncture. You know, we practice energy work, Qigong, exercise, Tai Chi, etc. People go to the gym to exercise. It's also good. And then when they lie down on a table and get acupuncture, what are they trying to achieve?
I would say ultimately acupuncture and Qigong are going for the same goals. Remember that acupuncture evolved from Qigong. It's just to a point of maybe a person doesn't want to do those breathing exercises or do the meditations or do the visualizations. That's where an acupuncturist would say, okay, we're still working with meridians, we're working with the dantians, we're working with acupoints, which lets us get into your psychology as a client and lets us look into your overall holistic health through the organs and how you go through life, because it's a storybook in many ways. So if I were to compare Qigong with acupuncture, in Qigong you're going through a book. You're a character, you say I want to do X, and then you live out these different characters in your life to build up your organs. In Chinese medicine, we would say you're doing exactly the same thing, except now we're more targeted because it's a medical diagnosis. So usually back in the day, especially in China, you know, most acupuncturists were Qigong masters and vice versa. So that's where they're always interconnected. It's just, would you want to be more passive in your healing and approach to life, or do you want to be more active? And that's the only difference there.
Well, so how to choose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do they choose?
Well, I would say it depends on your time, right? I would usually say, like, you know, with Qigong, you need to commit at least half an hour a day to really build up yourself, get that self-awareness. Because anything less than that, you can do, but you're not going to get those impactful results very quickly. Whereas if you saw an acupuncturist, I need to see you maybe once or twice a week to get the same effects.
Well, well, it's nice that it's covered by insurance, right?
Exactly.
So how does the insurance process work? They come to you and they do they pay or they just get the insurance to pay?
Basically, they'll pay me and then I'll issue a receipt and then they give it to their insurance, yes.
So isn't it nice that you get covered these days, but, and then I was just wondering, so do you find that people go for acupuncture interested to practice a bit of Qigong too?
Yeah, I mean, most of my clients go back and forth between the Qigong classes and the acupuncture classes. I'd say, hey, I know what you're doing from an acupuncture standard, let's work on this from a Qigong standard, and they reinforce each other, but that assumes, again, time is a resource there.
So what kind of maybe illnesses, aches and pain, whatever, would be more the clientele that you have? Or what's the common thing that people go for?
Common things with acupuncture, it's body pain, so shoulder, neck, lower back pain, knee pain, cold and flus. Mostly anyone that comes into my client, I'm very a generalist when I do things, so they bring in whatever, and I usually cover at least 1 to 2 issues per treatment. That's usually my goal. So.
And then it's like, how long is the session?
Each session's about an hour.
Yeah. So then how do they feel after the session then?
Usually I'm aiming for results within the first 10 minutes. Usually 2 minutes because I call myself a little bit greedy on that. But if you got shoulder pain, I'm like, that should be gone within 2 minutes. You should feel a difference.
2 minutes.
So yeah.
That's very fast, right?
Yeah, and that's.
And then they stay for the hour?
Yep, because I'll manipulate the needles, I'll check up on them, I'll add a few more needles in because I'm usually trying to tackle again multiple things.
Oh, you add a couple needles and then add a couple more needles again.
Exactly.
And then you keep adding for the hour?
Yep, so I mean.
So how much needles would they end up having?
It depends on the client. My average highest is usually around 12.
About 12?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You keep adding, it goes.
Well, I add the needles, I take out needles, I'll manipulate the needles and see where the qi is, and I'll check their pulse. So it's very customized, even though I do what I would say community-style acupuncture, so multiple people in a room. I'll still give everyone individual attention while I check up on them every 10, 15 minutes. Move the needles, maybe add another one, and then go to the rest of the clients.
Oh, so you put the needle and then later on check the pulse?
Yep.
See if they are responding?
Exactly.
And then if they are not, then you make some decisions?
Yes.
And then if they are, then you also make other decisions?
Exactly.
Oh, okay, that's really cute. That's cool. That's interesting, the way you actually do it. So this is so is this the learning from your first teacher?
So again, from Chinese medicine, she taught me classics very much. And then as I did my formal schooling at Ontario College of TCM, that's where I met other teachers of mine and I apprenticed them also. So it's kind of a cluster of all the Chinese medicine teachers I have.
Actually, acupuncture, I guess there are many ways of doing it. There are many ways of manipulating the needles, and the teachers have different styles.
Exactly.
Is that how it is?
Yep, because I mean, you have your typical Chinese medicine way, which is, very deep with the needles. I go very shallow, just because I go more of a classical or medieval approach to Chinese medicine, which is you put in the needle slightly, maybe 2-3 millimeters at most, and then you get the qi. You get that qi grasping, but that assumes you have to do Qigong to get that type of reaction from a person. So it's different styles, even, there's Korean acupuncture, Japanese acupuncture, there's so many different types, so you just gotta fit what's your personality.
So then what's your personality?
Mine's very much based on results. So
see what works.
See what works and see how I could keep upping the envelope on things. If I don't generally get a result within 10 minutes for someone's problem, I usually have to really think about things. And then I usually, when people are more open to meditation and Qigong, I usually tell them to start doing Qigong breathing or Qigong visualizations while they're getting the acupuncture to add another layer. So it's a very holistic way I look at things because, remember, I don't separate Qigong from the acupuncture there.
Well, you naturally have the qi with you because you've been practicing a long time with the martial arts. So with that kind of background to hold the needle, you already have qi in your hand, more than others, I would say. And then when you do it, it would be like a preferred choice, right?
Right.
So I do encourage the acupuncturists to practice Qigong because this is the way to go, right? So I have other questions is, So you also do the Reiki and then the Qigong too. How do you find, I mean, you're not, well, first of all, he hasn't studied too much with me yet, so I'm just wanting to understand him because his teachings, his teachers, right, has brought him to who he is, right? So he's a good person, of course, it works, if not he would not be going for it, right? So when you do the Reiki and then you also study the Qigong, so did you study the Reiki first or you studied the Qigong
I studied
first?
Qigong first,
You
and I was
studied-
actually reluctant to do Reiki for the longest time. So my teacher, Andrea Vitamis, when he came up to Canada, you know, I would get my attunements, and then when I go down, I got my attunements further. But
Oh,
they were
okay.
like, he was training me to a point of, okay, you got your Reiki level 1, guess what? 2-3 years of training, then you can consider it level 2. And he was looking for results again.
Oh, that's the
because-
Reiki?
Yeah, that was Reiki.
Oh,
And
okay.
then with the Qigong in particular, again, I learned that off of my Shaolin teacher, learned off my various Chinese medicine teachers on that.
Yeah.
So I was kind of doing all those on parallels. But Reiki and Qigong, it's different flavors. I would say with Qigong, you're working with that heaven, earth axis energy. So you're storing it, and the concept of Qigong is you're supposed to store the energy to then emit it. Or you could use the energy in the room to emit it. With Reiki, you would upgrade your frequency in your body so then you can just stream it, but you're not taking it from anywhere in particular.
Oh, okay, that's not the way how I do it. So anyway, so it's really beautiful because different teachers have different way of doing things. So, and I like to ask you too, so how does the acupuncture works with the like injuries, right?
Right. I mean, any injuries, like say you had a shoulder sprain or things like that, acupuncture is very good at that
Oh,
in
I
particular.
know, it's very good. Acupuncture is really a blessings too. So does people open to taking herbs or they're not?
Herbs, I mean, that's a whole different concept because I'm not registered as an herbalist yet.
Uh-huh.
So that's the thing where I just do acupuncture right now.
Oh, well, okay, that's actually wonderful. So would you be maybe considering pursuing for the Chinese herbal medicine
Yep, I
later
am
on?
considering that. I mean, I am actually considering this year even because I have my training from the school. I just never wrote the regulatory government exam.
Oh.
So I am considering going for the herbs.
Well, that's a lot of studying
It is.
still to do. And then, do you want to talk anything about? I mean, you talk about that about priest, right? Folk priest, right? So what's that about?
So basically, different priests from different traditions usually have established, like, you know, you have a Christian priest or you have like a Wiccan priest or different traditions. As a folk priest in China, we really generally find culturally we don't care. So you could be a Taoist, a Buddhist, a Confucian. Like they don't say Confucian priest officially, but it is in the tradition. So when I say folk priest, it's I adapt to the different traditions. So because I'm a shaman in particular, you know, I won't establish myself with a certain
Yeah.
religious group because I work in many different religious
Oh,
groups.
maybe you can explain, maybe just for some people, they don't quite understand what shaman is all about, just in case they don't understand. Since
Right.
you study that, maybe you can explain to them how the terms, what does it mean
Right.
to them?
So with shaman, it's a general vernacular from Siberia. Now, you know, we could say indigenous medicine person. That would probably be more appropriate because when we say shaman, you're thinking more of that Siberian region.
Yeah.
My school uses shaman in particular just because we go through those initiatory rites. And as a shaman, you have to go through a spiritual illness and you have to get over it. It's very
Yes.
much like you get over it or you don't. That's actually the two options.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
literally a rite of passage on a spiritual level where you're able to work on different lessons within yourself. And then from that, because you went through those trials, you can work with other people on that spiritual level and say like, okay, yes, you have
Yes.
this problem.
So in your acupuncture practice, you know, people come for things. So do you also offer some of your
Yep.
counseling work to them too, or
Yep.
is
So, I mean, generally speaking, acupuncture is acupuncture because that's a government regulation now.
Yes.
But if people were to see me for spiritual things, you know, I can act as a shaman and a folk priest. And usually, if you give me a background in terms of what belief system you like to work with, because there's so many different ones, and they give you different results and effects. So if you say, hey, I like to work with angels, or I have angels working with me, I'm like, okay, I could work in that system.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Are you cute?
So there's the angels that people are like, oh, we're doing Hindu work or different things. I could say like, okay, yes, I understand what Hindu work means because I've done it too.
Yeah.
So basically the way my school does things is we're very eclectic and we cross-train different systems. So if you say, I do this, I'd be like, okay, this is the background, here's the mechanics. So very much if people are open or looking for that spiritual counsel, I do have that available. I run metaphysical workshops every month, talking about energy work, spirit communication, divination, like tarot, I Ching, things like that. So that happens once a month.
So I can see that you really love, you know, this personal growth, right? So you put yourself to learn anything possible that comes along the way.
Yeah.
And then so it's like you have you know, it's just a lot of tools around, right?
Yeah.
You see which one is the one that you need to use for this client.
Exactly.
Is that, you know? So that's really beautiful. You know, this is for me. It's like it's quite young. Well, also we always say that we're not young, but it's still quite young for the age to has already explored so many years from a teen to now, and then it's really nice actually. And then he is. I would say faithfully trusting the energy and has gone to traditional study of the acupuncture too. So there's really a big field. Like the road is so big, really, you can just walk whichever way you choose, right? So what would you, I know you talk about the herbal medicine, maybe something you want to do. And then I know you also have the radio show, right? So what's about that?
So basically, Deeper Down the Rabbit Hole is an international radio show. There's 4 different hosts. I'm one of them. And basically, we talk to different metaphysicians, different priests. We've had even like ecologists pop on, business people. So it's just a wide variety of people from different points of life. And just getting their perspectives on like, well, how do you actually make it work for you? Because every view is a valid view. So that's where we have those conversations.
Yeah. Well, when there's a lot of information coming in, you really need someone to organize that. If not, it becomes very confusing, right? Yeah, because just listening to all the things you're studying. So while you're studying, and then you may be this and what about this, and then this is different, this is that. So there's so many ways, so many systems, really.
Exactly.
So and then what is your conclusion after you study all these things, right?
I have no conclusion at this point. I very much look at it like, well, how do I improve my life? Is my life, that's actually a quantifiable point where I'd say like, yeah, I absolutely love Qigong, I love Reiki, but I know Qigong's better at certain things than Reiki is. I know working and communicating with spirits gives me a different result than energy work. So I basically say, what's a tool to make my life better right now? And just go forward from there.
So you're calling right now, I know you have the acupuncture clinic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you may tell us the address of your clinic, locations, and so people can find you.
Right, so I'm at 384 Yeung Street, Unit 86. We're downtown Toronto, so we're in a mall complex actually between Gerrard and Yeung and College and Yeung. And from there we offer 2 different services, one being the private acupuncture where we go one-on-one, and I'll give you a full Chinese medicine diagnosis, we'll work with a Chinese medical massage, things like that, or we have community acupuncture where you come in a room, you roll up your sleeve up to the elbow or up to the knee, and I'll just kneel one side, generally speaking, and we go there. And that price point's much cheaper than the privates because, again, multiple people, so the cost is varied per head.
That's very nice. Yeah, that's very nice indeed. So, is there anything you'd like to add for today before we wrap up?
Not in particular. I mean, the main caveat, if I have to say for people, is, you know, look at your life pragmatically because there may not be any ultimate truth on anything. So at that point, just see what makes your life better. Is it doing Qigong? Is it taking a 5-minute meditation? Just small steps to better your life because that's the main thing. As long as you're going forward a little bit, even if you're crawling, that's something. So.
Yeah, I also believe in getting like a therapist to work on even myself because it's when someone offers you, which is their energy really, and then you are receiving, so you only have to do one thing instead of trying to give and receive. The practice of Qigong is like you give and receive at the same time, so it's like a longer process, although the result is very fast too. But the thing is also can really benefit to get help, right? So when we are willing to get help, that means we are willing to accept, right? So I have really no problem getting help from anyone. I ask my students to send me energy or something. So it's very nice to get help. So I always encourage people to get help. So I guess especially if you don't know him, now you know. And it's really kind of nice that there's someone in downtown Toronto also understand how energy works. And he's just not very far away and has a clinic close by actually in a very nice area. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so look forward to seeing you and in your clinic one day.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see you again in another episode.